No. Y'all know.
Yes, sir.
We all know in a couple of days.
Let me exhort the council members. You know what tomorrow is. Uh,
Tuesday.
yeah, it's a little bit bigger than Tuesday. And the reason I'm saying what I'm saying is that I know we have a candidate who most likely is going to be out on the campaign trail tomorrow. We have another council member who is a commissioner on the election precinct, and that leaves us with 5. And there's one that, we may or may not know if they're going to be here. So I'm going to ask the council members who are going to be here at 3 o'clock. Okay, it's important. We got a lot of business. We get the end of some introductions, and we'll be discussing. We'll be having a public hearing. We'll be getting feedback from the public, and I just want to make sure that we have a quorum so we can transact the business that we were sent here for. Mr. Clerk, I want to be clear. If we have 4 members here, one of them leave the area, do the meeting suspend at that time?
I'm going to have to check on that for you, Mr. Chairman. I know that in most other organizations, with the exception of the City Council, once you establish a quorum, then the meeting can continue,
Okay.
even if you have less than a quorum. But I'm not sure about that with the City Council.
Well-
But I will get back with you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll get with the clerk too and get an answer for you.
I appreciate that, because I have to suspend any bathroom breaks if that's the case.
We always have 6, so what do we do?
I'm sorry? Okay, all right, and I just want to bring it to your attention that we will, those who will be here tomorrow without any interruption to be here, so we can get started and move forward. All righty. Okay, tomorrow we will be approving the minutes of our previous administrative conference, city council meeting, and the special meeting that we held. Okay, we are down to recognition of guests and awards or any communication from council members. Are there any council members who have any communications or recognitions? Seeing none? Madam Mayor? To the
Not
mayor's
today.
office.
Not today,
Not
thank
today.
you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. All right, tomorrow we will be receiving our reports. Property standards. Today, we can hear any questions or inquiries that we may have for property standards. Any council members have any questions for property standards? I see none, Mr. Green. Thank you, sir. You should have received already, and I think we did electronically receive our revenue collection plan report, as long as I shared the appropriate report. And tomorrow, like I mentioned earlier, we will be having a public hearing regarding our 2017 proposed budget. I'm sure we'll get a lot of our citizens to come out and engage us in the proposed budget. All righty, Mr. Crawford, I don't have any requests to speak, so we can, there's no confirmations or appointments on the agenda today. I see none. So we can go into our legislative agenda items.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
May I?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
wanted to say, even though we don't have any confirmations and appointments, I do have an appointment that's going to be on the agenda for you all to look at for the next couple of weeks. I think it'll come under probably the clerk's report.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Good to hear. Get it out of the
He's
way.
here
Yeah.
today, yes.
Okay, well,
Appropriate time.
well, since we will be, the clerk, you want to address the appointment that's before you?
The mayor has appointed Mr. Jeffrey R. Anderson, Deputy Director for the Department of Water and Sewerage.
Okay, he's present.
He is present.
Would you ask him to come up, Mayor, and introduce himself to the council
Yes,
members?
absolutely. We did have our deputy director to retire October 31st.
Okay,
He worked it last day, and now we need a new one because we are under consent decree, as you know, and so we needed to move hurriedly to get somebody in place that was well qualified and had done the job before many years, and so this is going to...
let me ask Ms. Featherston if she will come up and present him to the council, if you will. Will you introduce your appointee to be your deputy?
Absolutely. We went through a hiring process. We advertised the position. We had over 15 applicants apply. Some were not qualified. We interviewed 7 folks for the position, mostly internal staff and some external staff, including Mr. Anderson. We were looking for someone who could step in, who has shown a proven ability to lead, to manage. One of the things that I thought was very strong about Mr. Anderson's resume and his experiences is he is an engineer. A lot of what we are doing in the Department of Water and Sewer is capital related, working with the engineering department. That has taken a lot of my time as I've stepped into lots of meetings and lots of interactions with engineering. Mr. Anderson will be able to step into that position and help out. He is currently working with for a consultant who is working on the consent decree program, so he's very intimately familiar with that program. In addition to working on our water system master planning from the modeling standpoint. So he's very familiar with our city. He's very familiar with my staff already. They know him on a first name basis. He's someone I've dealt with when he was in a position in Bossier City with various things that we worked together on, particularly Barksdale, when we would have issues where we would need to do maintenance on our line and Bossier would take over the supply for a day or two. I would work with Mr. Anderson on that, and he's always been very, very helpful, thoughtful, very happy with this election.
And if I could add to that, he's going to be my appointment. However, she did recommend him, but I followed up because I wanted to make sure that we had the right person in place. So I called all of the references, also checked his credentials, and interviewed him myself. So that interviewed him twice, and I wanted to make sure that he was the right person with the knowledge and all the references. I called each of them and had great conversation with them about his work ethic, his knowledge, his leadership, his management, the whole bit. So I have a comfort level in appointing him.
Thank you, Mayor, and I trust that you did, because that's the way you are. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Anderson. Come forward, please, sir.
Thank you, Council Chairman, Council Mayor. I appreciate you providing the time for me to come forward this afternoon. I'd like to thank the mayor for her appointment, and thank you guys and your consideration for my confirmation. As is mentioned, I've been in utilities pretty much the entire professional career I've had. I've enjoyed the challenges that a 24/7 operation brings, and the unique perspective you have to bring to that with kind of a servant's heart to serve the public, because and oftentimes it is, in some extent, a thankless job. And so I've appreciated those challenges in my career, and as mentioned, I've gotten pretty well informed of the current challenges working on the consent decree work as well as some of the water system work, and really just look forward to continuing to solve those challenges in-house and serving the citizens of Shreveport and the administration and council.
Thank you. And it was mentioned, I'm sure, we heard the mayor, we heard Ms. Featherston, and there are challenges. And I was looking, I know it was mailed to us, your experiences and resume. But specifically, what was you doing in Bossier, in the Bossier City?
So I was the equivalent of Ms. Featherston's position at the end of my tenure in Bossier. I was the director of water and sewer, or in their terms, director of public utilities.
Okay. And how long you had been there?
I was in that role for a little over 4 years. I had started my career there in 2009, so I've been with Bossier for a little over 7 years.
You felt, coming to Shreveport was what, was a,
Remember, Mr. Chairman, that Bossier privatized their service.
thank you,
Remember that?
thank you for that reminder.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So we sort of got lucky that there was a talent pool available.
Thank
Yeah,
you, sir.
no,
Okay. Thank you, sir, okay.
Yeah,
And, but,
privatization that occurred there recently. Privatization occurred there recently.
okay, well,
Yeah.
again, soldiers loss is our game.
Absolutely. That's how I feel.
Okay, well, thank you, and I feel good with your statements and with the confidence that the mayor has in you to help us over here.
Thank you.
Welcome. We look forward to your confirmation. So, council members, any other council member have any questions for Mr. Anderson?
I'd just like to say, looking forward to working with you and look forward to your confirmation being approved.
Thank you, sir. I as well.
Appreciate you coming aboard.
Thank you.
Are you from this area?
No, sir. I'm from kind of south central east of Alexandria, about an hour.
Louisiana. This area?
Still counts.
Now what is an hour east of Alexandria? Now I'm
A
got
few small towns on the Mississippi River. I'm right
Vidalia
there on
or?
Vidalia.
Okay, great.
You know where Vidalia is.
I know Vidalia. They got a nice hotel in Vidalia.
I worked there when I was in high school.
That would be with all the school systems
Is that right across the
there.
river from Natchez? Yeah, okay. All right, well, thank you. We look forward to your confirmation, and if there's anything that, you need to share with us through the mayor's office, we'll be open for that also, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Featherston. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right, now we can move into our legislative agenda.
Thank you for allowing us to do that early.
We're under consent agenda legislation, Mr. Chairman, to adopt ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 182 accepts dedication of a 15-foot wide sanitary sewer servitude in Kings Highway I-49 subdivision unit number 1. Resolution 183 authorizes Norman Parker, located at 8373 Moore Road, to connect to the water and sewer systems for the city of Shreveport. Resolution 184 accepts the dedication of a 60-foot right-of-way, Fite Street in Fite Commercial Subdivision Unit Number 1. Resolution 185 accepts dedication of a 25-foot radius right-of-way at Piermont Road and Thornhill Avenue in Southern Heights Subdivision Number 12. Resolution 186 rejects bids received for IFB 16083 for the improvements to the 1200 block of Line Avenue. And Resolution 187 rejects bids on IFB 16080 Hangar 40 Rehabilitation Phase 1. And Resolution 192 suspending the effects of Chapter 106 of the City of Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to 3142 North Market.
All right, questions on these introductions? I'm sorry, Councilman Efferson.
Yeah, I just had a couple of quick questions. So the Kings Highway 49 subdivision, is that that's
It's always been there.
it's always been there, they just never turned it
Sewer line that
over?
runs through there, and we never had a dedicated servitude, and so we're just going back and getting that servitude in the event we do have to work on it.
Okay, I
on
just
it
wanted to
in the
make sure there
future.
wasn't some new
That's what-
reason for that, or like they were abandoning one and replacing
No.
it with another or something, okay.
Just recently discovered and said, hey, we don't have a servitude there. And
Cleaning up the
Cleaning it up,
paperwork.
yes, sir.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And then the other one is just the 1200 block of line. I mean, as I understand it, we're already out to bid again, or we're going out to bid again soon on that?
Yeah, we're restructuring some of what we're asking to do. We found some gravel under the road there that was going to cost a pretty good bit, so we're rewording some of that bid, and we feel comfortable that it'll come back in the amount that we have allocated for it.
Got it. Great. So a little bit of value engineering
Absolutely.
based on
That's
what
right.
was on site. Fair enough. Thank you.
Sure.
183, Mr. Crawford,
Yes, sir.
is that a recommendation from engineering, or is that
Which one are you looking at,
request?
Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry?
183.
Oh, 183, I'm sorry.
183.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. That line, I think you have the plat on that. We do have a 10-inch water main that runs directly in front of that property. It's not exactly contiguous to the city limits, but it is surrounded by the city. so it's not a stretch similar to the request that we had, I think, last month, where somebody was going to have to put a pretty good amount of footwork in to put a line in. This one's right next to our water line, so it shouldn't be any difficult, and we do get double rates when that person connects.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question. I didn't think
Yes,
there
sir.
was it wasn't similar to that. This was readily
Right in their front yard.
in the front yard.
Yes, sir.
And I asked the clerk to speak with the gentleman regarding 192, and I see you got it here. Anything, Mr. Clerk, you can share with us?
Well, the police department, the 192 refers to land use,
Okay,
location of the building. And if this is adopted, it means that they won't have to go back, they'll have to go back to the zoning board of appeals. But while it's pending before the zoning board of appeals, they would be allowed to apply for a liquor license at this location. And if the zoning board of appeals approves this, then they would be allowed to keep a license if they have a license at that point.
okay.
The police department have raised some issues about the applicant, whether or not the applicant should be able to get a liquor license. But that's a separate issue, I think. If the city attorney would agree with that, and they still have to satisfy the police department, the chapter 10 aspect of it. This deals with the land use and the site of the building.
And he called me, and I wasn't familiar with, was it Fumaruski or Brewski or something?
Bumble Brewski.
It's a sports bar. But anyway, I told him if we can help him, we would, and I appreciate you meeting with him and getting the details of his petition.
As with this one and all of the others, if anybody's uncomfortable at this point, you can take it off, you can take it off the consent agenda. That's just a note to everybody.
Any council member have any objections to us allowing this gentleman to apply for his liquor license so he can continue and operate while these other, huh? No opposition, thank you, we're good now. Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Crawford, we can move on.
Yes, sir. Resolutions on second reading and final passage are which will require only one reading. Resolution 180 stating the City of Shreveport's endorsement of Venue Solutions LLC to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana Restoration Tax Abatement Program. Resolution 181 suspends the provisions of Chapter 10 and Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the sale, dispensement, and consumption of alcoholic beverages during Shreveport Raptors Reserve's winter season soccer games at Louisiana State University at Shreveport.
Okay, we visited these last meeting. Any questions? Questions regarding this resolution on second reading? I see none. You may continue.
Hang on, Mr. Chairman, I gotta find I was scrolling down.
Okay.
Right, so November 22nd.
Number
188.
I got you. Introduction of thank you, Mayor. Introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to November 22nd, 2016. Resolution 188 authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement with the Cumulus Media Group relative to the Rockets Over the Red Festival. Resolution 189 authorizes and provides for waivers of facility permits right-of-way annual fee for the construction of a closed fiber optic network between the LSU Health Science Center and the Northwest Louisiana University School of Nursing. Resolution 190 authorizes the mayor to execute a pricing agreement with Digital Assurances Certification, hereafter referred to as DAC. Resolution 191 authorizes the mayor to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Shreveport and participating high schools through their governing bodies relative to the Battle of the Border 2017 High School Football Showcase, and to use the city's personnel, property, and equipment.
Have the Battle on the Border been, how would we categorize the Battle of the Border? Is it
The city-sponsored high school football showcase.
is our investment, the return on investment, you think is?
Oh, I think it's significant
Significant,
with
good.
the economic impact that we have for the area and the schools that we bring in from both East Texas and some of the national powerhouses we have here. I think Shelley could come up and if you have some
Right.
specific questions, but I can, from an attendee standpoint, it's very exciting. I think it helps in recruiting for this area. Lots of high school teams are there watching the games as they're being played from Thursday night through Saturday night, and it's a very exciting tournament, and I think it's grown over the last, how many years, Shelley? We've had it for 7 years now, and it's actually, now we're getting schools from all over the country who are requesting to play in Battle of the Border because of the level of talent that we have there playing.
Someone posted an economic impact on it, and where did I see that? Was it,
But it's,
Tourist Bureau
Tourist
may
Bureau?
have.
Yeah, Tourist Bureau.
Yeah.
It's definitely,
it's big.
it's definitely a good.
and we're not the
net
title
positive.
sponsor, Dodge is.
Yeah.
You know, Landers Dodge
Oh,
is the
Dodge,
title
title
sponsor.
sponsor, right. Dodge.
Right,
We-
and there are some other,
We provide the in-kind services like we do for the Independence Bowl, but they have some big sponsors.
Okay.
and we bring in a lot of schools from across the country, and they eat in our restaurants, sleep in our hotels, shop in our shopping centers. And so last year, it was just outstanding. But this year, was it
Mhm.
this
This
year?
year, this year.
Yeah,
A
outstanding.
couple of months.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Any other questions on these introduction resolutions?
Well, just briefly, I mean, I'm certainly supportive of it, but this connection between LSU Health Sciences and the Northwestern School, is that something that, like, is that gonna impact in-ground fiber optic cable, or
Yeah.
is that above ground?
No, I believe it's in-ground, and it allows them to go into our right-of-way, I believe, and put a subsurface line in. Robert, is that right? That's what I thought.
Okay, I was just curious because there's a lot of, I don't know what route they're taking exactly.
There's a lot of stuff in our right-of-way.
And there's a lot of stuff in that area. There's been a lot of construction in that area, so I just
Yeah.
want to make sure. I'm sure y'all checked it out by everything else, but I just wanted
Yes, sir, we did.
to kind of make sure that. So are they following along the interstate and then coming over, or are
They're coming from downtown Shreveport, running down Louisiana, going past Willis Knight. They will swing over and pick up the Northwestern State School of Nursing. From that, they'll continue down southward to cross underneath I-49 to connect to the LSU Medical Center.
So they'll come south from Northwestern along Line Avenue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then kind
Like right
of
at Kings Highway.
hang a
Take
right
a right
at
at Kings
Kings.
Highway, go underneath I-49 to LSU.
So they'll go straight and like a driver would. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Perfect. So, but that, as a closed network, I guess, so that's tapping into the Lonnie line, right? Is that?
That is the Lonnie Network is what it
Okay.
is.
And so that's gonna be accessible to those two institutions. Is there a possibility that other institutional users are gonna be allowed to connect to that at some
Any
point?
institution within the Lonnie Network that is part of the research and development for, Louisiana and stuff along this line will be able to connect to it. There'll be no private interest that will be allowed to connect to it.
Okay, got it. Great, thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
And what was the value of that waiver?
17,000 or something.
17,000.
17,700. Was that? Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All righty, thank you. We may move forward.
Mr. Chairman, we're introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to November 22nd, 2016. Ordinance 121 amends the 2016 capital improvements budget. This is a water and sewer, just an accounting cleanup of adding $2,000 so we can actually close this one out. Ordinance 122 amends the 2016 water and sewer enterprise fund budget. There's two projects are moving of money within their enterprise fund, $1 million to contractual services from improvements in equipment. And 123 amends the 2016 budget for the general fund. And this is two other additional projects from engineering. I'm sorry, 123 moves $65,000 from personal services into improvements in equipment to replace three needed vehicles that have aged significantly in engineering. Ordinance 124 closes and abandons two alleyways in Block 2 of the OPA subdivision in Section 6, T17 North, R13 West. Ordinance 125, 126, and 127 are related to the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund collection fee and the Code of Ordinances relative to. Ordinance 125 amends and reenacts portions of Chapter 74 and 94 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the solid waste collection fee. Ordinance 126 amends and reenacts portions of Chapter 26, Article 4, Division 2 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the solid waste collection fee. And Ordinance 127 amends portions of Chapter 26, Article 5, Division 10 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the solid waste enterprise fund.
Okay. Okay, these are the biggies that we're gonna have to deal with. Councilman Jefferson.
Sorry, this probably a less controversial one, and I just want to clarify to make sure I understand it. Ordinance 124 is the closing and abandoning of some alleyways that we have used to access. It's my understanding through the fact sheet, and I think I'm familiar with it, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly, is this is the area that's on the school board property that's for Alexander, and there's no other lines tying into it that we need to access, so it's just, okay. That's what I thought. Just want to make sure we don't
No, you're correct.
close it and then realize, oops, we got 5 houses that are connected to that, and we
No, we
still need
checked
to
it.
get
There's
in
nothing
there.
else connected to it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
In that case, wonderful, by the way. I love abandoning things that we don't, take it off our
Give it to
list.
somebody else.
Give it to someone else.
Explain the difference between 125 and 126. I'm not clear on.
120, in the Code of Ordinances, and William can jump in here anytime.
Sure.
In the Code of Ordinances, there's a specific place for the collection of fees. That's what 125 deals with. So all the fees that we collect are listed in there. And so we had to list the new fee for the solid waste in there. 126 in the Code of Ordinances talks about the divisions of labor within each of the departments, Public Works, Solid Waste, and so on. And the fees associated with those divisions. And then 127 just creates the solid waste enterprise fund within the chapter itself. And William, if you want to.
Yeah, 125, I think Brian, our CAO, hit it on the head. 125 amends 74, Chapter 74 and Chapter 94 to actually provide for the allowance of the fee. 126 will actually place the fee in the fee schedule charged by the city, and 127 creates a fund under the finance division to actually deposit the proceeds from a solid waste collection fee into an account that serves as an enterprise fund for the city of Shreveport.
Okay. In 127, can we adopt a 127 without adopting the other previous two?
In theory, you could create the fund,
Okay.
but it would not be serviced until you create you can create the enterprise fund, but it will not be serviced until you create the fee schedule and afford the Code of Ordinances with the ability to actually charge the fee that was deposited to the fund. In order for it to be an enterprise fund, it has to be self-generated.
Oh, okay. So it'd be a mute to establish something that cannot generate funds.
Right.
Okay. And these three will have a direct impact on the proposed budget as
Absolutely.
relates to other areas of the budget as well as creating this fund.
Absolutely. In fact, it frees up funding from the general fund operating budget, to be able to do, put monies back into the street special revenue fund that we've been taking out of, and we'll be able to do some, some raises. And so it would also free up funding that we can still add to capital budget for steel streets, and that is when we do the concrete panels. So it frees up money to be able to do other things from the general operating budget.
If you remember, Mr. Chairman.
You do know that this is been one of the most I'm sorry, Councilman Corbin? I didn't see that.
You can finish your comment.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was going to say that we've been getting a lot of inquiries regarding this change, almost this fundamental change in city government. and it's been very balanced in the inquiries that I've been getting. Some other council members have been getting some as well that has not been as balanced. But I'm going to support this. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to support this. When I ran for public office, okay, I came into the city government knowing the challenges that was before us, just like you. Matter of fact, in some circles, there was even people categorizing the election of 2014 as a crossroad election. That this was that important. And the reason that it was that important, because prior to us, and prior to the previous council, in a way, I mean, things had been happening in this city that really tied up and let me not use tied up. Let me use mismanaged resources in a way that impeded and would continue to impede this city's ability to provide goods and services for our residents. It almost was a crisis in seeing these sweetheart deals, these sweetheart contracts, these incompetent decisions that was made that encompass this city's financial future. You know, it was even mentioned last week that council members, previous councils, made mistakes that cost us millions of dollars in legal fees and litigation. All these things, Mayor, that we didn't create. You didn't create, this council didn't create, but it fell on our doorstep just the same. And I came into office not conscious or even being proactive in thinking about any future political ambitions. I came here to do a job that I thought could bring about a better way in which we can operate, we can finance our city, we can grow our city, and take care of our employees. And nowhere in taking our oath did it say, and by the way, you must do what's popular with your constituents. You must do what may be what may be expedient for your political future. It didn't say that. It says you pledge to do what you can do for the betterment of Shreveport. And I don't like to pay for other people's sins. And I'm using that word as when other people make mistakes, don't charge me with that responsibility of taking that hit. I mean, even in my current day job, you know, when I go into a situation when it's for me to fix, okay, I make it clear that I didn't create this. So I'm gonna do what I think it needs to be done to fix it. If that includes changing people, include making hard, tough decisions, I'm willing to do that because that's what I signed on to do. And we don't move forward into the 21st century and creating a viable city that we can run, operate, keep our employees to a certain degree of appreciated, then I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of that environment. I want to create a positive environment, living within our means, but at the same time, not being held for what didn't happen prior to me getting here. What happens when I'm here and when I leave here is what's important to me. So I'm gonna support this, you know, and be prepared to accept any ridicule I get from any of my constituents that may disagree with me, because I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do. I appreciate your courage in addressing it, because I cannot think of another environment, especially city government, that would allow their employees to go 10 years without a raise. It speaks volumes about what we value. Okay? It's about what we value. Okay? Do we just go along to get along, or do we value what we're doing to the extent that I'm willing to take whatever heat or whatever response that's coming to make it better? And I'm saying that realizing that I represent one of the most impoverished districts in Shreveport. But I think it's the right thing to do. Councilman Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to speculate who's going to vote up or down, or what your thoughts are on the garbage fee in my comments. What I am going to say, though, is whether this is the right thing to do, or it's the right time to do it, or it needs more discussion from council and administration and input from the public, whatever we're thinking there. I think that between now and tomorrow, when we come in to introduce these pieces of legislation, and we don't know who's going to be here tomorrow to even cast a vote, but I don't want to introduce this and vote it down in 2 weeks and put us in a crunch and administration in a crunch of having to make some quick changes to the budget. I think that tomorrow we ought to know where we stand, and if there are not 4 votes to approve it, I don't even think we ought to introduce it. Let's kill it. And if we want to take it up in 2017, early in 2017, let's do that. But it does us no good to introduce a piece of legislation and then have 2 weeks to make all the necessary changes to the budget. That's a hardship on administration, that's a hardship on council, and on folks out in the departments. So I would just ask that between now and tomorrow, we have some discussions, and that we do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Any other council members want to speak on this? I agree, but we kind of in a pickle here, I guess, realizing today that we will be short on tomorrow. Even though I agree that 2 weeks from the 22nd of November to the 13th of December, for the, may be a challenge for the administration and the council to reconstitute the proposed budget. But I would ask the council members, let's vote on it, nevertheless. And whether I think it deserves a vote. I mean, let's introduce it and let it come up to a vote. And if they can work out, council and the administration could work out the details and the apparatus of it, if it fails or if it passes, and they just have to do that. But I think it deserves a vote from this council. And I'm going to ask that.
I think voting not to introduce it is a vote. That sends a
Well,
message.
I'm saying a vote to implement it, not a vote to introduce it. A vote to implement it before the public. Because we're going to be short. I mean, we may have 4 or 5 council members, and I want it to be before the full council for a vote. So everybody, can have that privilege to vote. If I got 3 absence or 2 absence, then they won't be represented. But the time-wise, we need to move. This year, we're going to move this year. Now, I think it's been proposed, and I haven't had any feedback from administration that they want to delay it or pull it. So, Mayor?
I just thank you so much. I would ask if council members would consider not pulling it. I don't want to. I mean, I put it in the budget, and we turned the budget in October 29th, so I think you anticipated something coming, and we were trying to be respectful and put some legislation out there, but I feel like council members, in all due respect, knew that we had to do something if we were gonna do this. Now, we do have some options for budgets, if this doesn't fly. I mean, I'm a CEO who has not just one plan on most anything that we're doing, particularly those priorities and those big things. We always have a backup plan. And we will not dare put this council in a pickle to be able to pass a budget by December 15th. So we do have the backup plan, and I made that, I thought I communicated that to you all during the work session. We have 3 options, actually. This is one of them. I'm asking respectfully if you would vote on it. I feel like it's been in our 2030 Great Expectations Master Plan for a long time now. And it is something I think is past due. If I should run for mayor again and people don't vote for me because of this is fine. But I think it's the right thing to do. And I'm not going to kick the can down the road any longer. But, it's going to be up to the council members to decide. But this is not a political decision. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put it out there. I think this is the right thing to do for Shreveport, Louisiana. I think other cities have and we've learned. They've seen the wisdom of doing it this way so that they can have funding to be able to move their city ahead. And so I'm asking council members to please consider voting it up or voting it down.
Okay, voting to introduce it is tomorrow.
Yes.
You want us to introduce it?
Well, that's the way it is.
And
right
then
now.
let it fall where it may on the 22nd.
Absolutely.
And between the 22nd and the 8th, and the 13th, you don't feel that would be encompassing upon us getting
A budget passed?
yes.
No, because we have another plan in place. We can do what we did last year. I mean, that's always an option. And we have that budget ready.
We do, and Mr. Chairman, if you remember during the public meetings that we had, as the mayor already mentioned, we had 3 options in there. One of the options was if it didn't pass. So there would be the elimination of, there hasn't been an actual adoption of an enterprise fund. And so it would be a simple maneuver of placing funds into public works to support a solid waste operation. It would be decreasing funds in the operating reserve because you're losing that revenue that you had some discretion on. And that would be it. It would really be one amendment to the general fund. And as the mayor said, she's been down this road before. She's has contingencies in place, and it's a pretty simple maneuver for us. And if you'll look back at your budget booklets that we handed you out and you go to the solid waste section, it tells you exactly what will happen if this does not pass and where the funding will fall in the general fund.
I've been hearing also, Mayor, that council members are not against the enterprise fund, but they may be against the $12. Tell me the scenario if I mean, there's going to be amendments all over the budget, you know that already, and I'm considering the 22nd through the 13th, that 2-week time period, what could be accomplished. The clerk has requested from the council members that after tomorrow, that whatever amendments that we may see that we want to enact on, we need, as expeditious as we can to submit those to him. So if there's an amendment, and that won't take place until the 13th, if the council chose to amend it to a different number, let's say a number of $8, what would that do to your intended proposal to enact the things that you have requested within the $12 fee?
Well, if you take funding away from the $12 fee, it'll just be a matter of backing out the amount that we would have for the enterprise fund itself. And if you establish the fund and you don't establish a fee to put money in the fund, then the fund there's no need to have the special revenue fund.
Let me answer it a different way, Mayor. What I'm asking you now is that will $8 support the enterprise fund?
Not completely. You know, we'd have to still take monies out of the general operating fund to be able to make it go. The $12 was put in there for a reason. There is no extra, and I'll say extra. When we gave you all the scenario with the graph, everybody else is charging a lot more than $12. And I think there's a reason for that in talking with people across the country, because they do have extra monies built into it so they can do some other things. We don't have much extra at all built into ours. And the reason is because we did not want to put a burden, any more burden than we had to on our people. The only thing we have in there is going to be used to actually operate solid waste in our city. There is no extra, really.
And let me follow up by asking you this. Before I say what I'm going to say, I want to be clear to everybody that, and I don't use the word that we're doing this for pay raises, because it's not actually doing it for pay raises. Explain what this scenario and this fund will generate.
That's actually, pay raises is probably the most minimalistic thing that you're doing with this fund.
Okay.
One of the things you're doing is creating a solid revenue stream based off of a service that the city provides. It costs $12 to stop at everyone's house once a week to pick up 66,000 households a month. In that, a $12 fee generates about $9.5 million. That's a minimum of just a break-even number of what it costs to provide solid waste here. And so what that does, it frees about $8.1 million up of general fund subsidy that's now being provided for garbage service. You can look at it any way you want to. Currently, in this year's budget, we transferred $6.8 million from the street special revenue fund to the general fund this year. So one way to look at it is that street special revenue fund is paying for your solid waste pickup in 2016. What this enterprise fund will allow is all of that street money to stay in street special revenue. So the $6.8 million will stay in there for 2017. That can be used, that's primarily can be used, so that's the biggest thing that it's going to do. It's going to allow that money to stay in the street special revenue fund. You can bond that money out at about $13 million per million. We've talked about that in one of the meetings. You take $2 or $3 million of that street special revenue fund money. Now you have about $30 to $35 million in street projects that you can leverage on a revenue bond and going forward and knocking additional streets out in all of the districts over the next 2 or 3 years. So you have that is the biggest piece. You also have equipment purchases that can be used for that. As far as the classified services pay raises of 5%, that's about $1.6 million of that $8.1 million fund. So it's a small percentage of that. And then the police is about, I believe, about the same amount, maybe $1.8 million of that.
Now, you guys gave us statistics from other cities.
Yes.
Okay. And they was comfortable cities to our size.
Oh, yes.
What are your response to those citizens that say that garbage pickup should be a city service because of their tax dollars, property tax dollars? What's your response to that?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that, and that includes me, because I'm a citizen. Otherwise, I wouldn't be the mayor.
Yes.
I would say I was getting some services free of charge. Okay? And I would also say that it's not wise to do it that way. That's why we have the complaints about the bad streets, the infrastructure, the sewer system. We got all of these issues that have been compounding because we don't have enough revenue to take care of the business. We're using the revenue for one thing, and solid waste is a big part of that. The other cities have figured it out. That's why they have a special revenue fund to do. That's why Boulder charges $24 per household. Then they can, and in fact, when I talked with the mayor, he told me they are no longer under consent decree because they're able to now take care of their infrastructure. And it's, you know, the taxes that we all pay are not enough to take care of all of the needs that we have in this city. And other cities around the country know that. I mean, that's my response. We are not collecting enough taxes to take care of all of the needs of the city. And this is one reason why. That's why the 1,000 people that I think you all talked about that did the Great Expectations Master Plan, put it in the plan.
Okay. All right. I think one of the things too, Mr. Chairman and council members, you have to look at is how the general fund is set up. You know, we always try and look at best practices. We look at what other cities who are successful are doing financially and through their infrastructure and the programs that they provide. There are no other cities doing this because no other cities placed their solid waste service into their general fund. If you look at the millages that are for the general fund, none of them specify solid waste. They cover fire, police, streets and drainage maintenance. They carry the financial management of the city, HR management, those types of services, parks, recreation. They don't cover a solid waste service. There's nothing in our charter that says we have to provide solid waste services. I mean, it's in the charter because the council voted it in there. But there are a lot of other cities who have decided this is a losing proposition for us to continue to do that, and they've privatized. I'm not saying we're not even threatening that. We've got great sanitation workers. They do a great job. And we believe that if it ever went down that road, you'd end up paying $20 to $24 per household for a private service to be able to do that, and your service would suffer. We've got great employees who do a great job. What we've proposed here is a very minimal number, not to make any extra dollars. And like I said, when you look at other cities, and we talk about that all the time. We talked about that in the master plan. Some of these members were on that Great Expectations Master Plan Committee because it was made up of most public officials at that time, along with 1,000 residents, who looked at other cities' best practices. And when we look at other cities in Texas who are successful, find me one that has a setup like this, you know, where they have it built into the general fund, where they're based on a tax structure of sales tax that is so volatile that we're going to lose maybe $2.5 million this year over what we collected last year. And when that happens, something has to give. And in this case, over the last couple of years, the Street Special Revenue Fund has given. And so has the Riverfront Fund. And we've had to take more money out of there. And when you look at why those two funds were set up by, maybe not this council, but the council in general, they were not set up to be pumped into the general fund. The Street Special Revenue Fund was supposed to be dedicated to streets, but we've had to move all of that $6.8 million over here to cover our lost revenue. We've had to pump in the Riverfront Development Fund money, almost 100% of that, other than what's designated out there, to prop up the general fund. Because over the years, and you mentioned it, over the years, there's not been fiscally good management and stewardship of the city dollars to be able to support the general fund as a whole. And now we're seeing the results of that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And if I could say, I just feel like politically, when you kick the can down the road, it has to stop somewhere. And in my mind, because I don't think that way, I think somebody has to make a decision to do the right thing if we're going to ever move and progress. I mean, yeah, I've got a few calls about this. In fact, I got to go back upstairs tonight before I go home and call a couple of people who called me about it. But most of the people that I've spoken with are in favor of it. They feel like the time is past due. I still have those naysayers who feel like, you know, I mean, people talk about they want good services, but they don't pay for it. And, you know, those people that are your colleagues and your friends who live in these other cities, who live outside the city, they're paying $25 and $30 a month for solid waste. And I don't hear that kind of, you know, rumbling about it. But I think we have allowed it to happen. And when they don't get streets fixed, you hear about that. I mean, I get emails from all of you all the time about, you know, holes in the streets, flooded areas. Why do you think we have all of that? Because we don't have the revenues to really address the problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm through. I've done my sermon for today.
Well, let me give you my last 2 cents.
Yes,
The
sir.
council, let me get the council members, my last 2 cents. And that's why I say I feel compelled to support it. For this reason, again, is that, we are faced with a lot of challenges. In some cases, we are faced with crisis. And I'm gonna say again, crisis, challenges that we didn't create, but we have to face them just the same. And we can't have it both ways as a city. We can't say, I want my streets fixed, I want this, I want that, and we don't want to pay no more to help make that happen. Now, I feel in my heart, and Mr. Thompson could tell you, that I would say that prior to me coming on this council, that no other council member have attended more council meetings than I have over the last 25 years. I was an avid advocator and citizen who declared, let's do what's right. Councils passed. I mean, we've been polarized. We've had councils who did things that I thought they would not do because of whatever attention or feedback they was getting from the constituents on their side of town. Okay, and now we find ourselves as a city, and we're going to have to talk about it. I mean, we hear often the phrases, the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. But right now you hear throughout Shreveport that the glass is half full. And then we hear most often is that the glass is half empty. The majority of our citizens feel like the glass is half empty. Then we got another crowd in Shreveport that goes around saying that those other folk, them poor folk, is drinking up all the water out the glass. And I keep telling people that what we fail to understand is that the glass is refillable. We can refill this glass. If we was to insert ourselves and take some very innovative ways that we can generate more revenue for this city. Now, certainly, I said that earlier because I said that I promise you that if we did not lease out our mineral rights for $1 an acre, I think we would have some more resources to help do some of the things that we're doing.
No doubt.
We didn't make that decision. People made millions of dollars off of those blunders and incompetency decisions.
Still making money.
Still making money off of our backs. And here we are struggling to make ends meet, and other people is dancing away with millions of dollars. The Parish Commission got more money, $140 million, somebody said, in their coffins because they got royalties off of their mineral rights. We can't continue to live like this. We can't have it both ways. We can't want and not want to go through the expenses of getting what we want until we can start filling that glass up. And there is a way to fill the glass back up. But we can't struggle and have pity parties waiting for that to happen. We got to be proactive, and I think this is a proactive measure to at least get us headed to what that means. So I'm going to again ask the council members that let's introduce it and let's vote as a body, as a whole body on the 22nd. And if that doesn't float, then the premise is back on the administration and the council clerk and the council members to provide this city for 2017 a budget that we can live with and we can operate on. Any other questions? Any other councilman? Councilman? Yeah, Councilman Flory.
Those of you that are watching by television today, I'd like to say that Brian Crawford helped me understand a lot during the process of the budget. Just Friday, I'm privy to the fact that we had to have a fire truck towed because of transmission. But the following weekend, we had another fire truck that had a maintenance problem and had to shut down and was on a call. I saw a police car today in my district that was jacked up, having to have a tire put on it. And Mr. Crawford pointed out so well that we have so many buildings here in our city that we own that are leaking, and we don't have the money to spend to fix them. We patch them and try to get by them. And I just wonder if the citizens, yeah, it probably was some royalty money, and as you say, that was not done right. But we're faced with today where we're at. Having no idea, I thought I did a little study on the budget as a candidate flurry, but when you get on the city council and you see all of these multiple things, we didn't buy enough police cars, and we sit here and let them where you can see daylight in the floorboard, and we asked our men and women of public safety to drive these vehicles that are unsafe, and I'm not willing to go along with that. So I'm just hoping that you understand as we go forth that we're trying to bring all of this stuff to move the city forward, to move it in a better position. And all of these decisions are tough, because I hear from you out there that you tell me, well, we're on Social Security and we can't afford, and you got all this on my water bill. I hear that, I understand. But the fact of the matter, if you privatize the public, the solid waste, I can feel sure that you're going to pay more than $12 a month. I just feel confident that you will. And I think Mr. Crawford pointed that out, that if we have to, because we keep sucking money out of the general fund, and our revenues are just not there. Our boardings on the boat, when Margaritaville opened up, I'm pretty sure that hurt us. And our sales taxes, a year ago, automobiles shot up in the month of January, and we really did enjoy some nice income there off of that. But automobile sales have been down. And so I hope the citizens, well, before you draw a conclusion, I read all this, that those that are printed, naysayers, but there's a lot more to it than what you see. And I hope that you'll give it an opportunity to look at all sides. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other comments from the council members? Okay, thank you, and we'll prepare tomorrow to move forward in our regular council meeting. All right, where are we, Mr. Crawford?
Mr. Chairman, we're on ordinances on second reading and final passages. Ordinance 119 amends the 2016 Airport Enterprise Fund budget. There are two projects in there for taxiway Alpha for $50,000, relocation of ASO for another $30,000, so the total ordinance is $80,000. And then ordinance 120 is also a capital improvements budget. It's a companion to ordinance 119 with two additional projects on there as well. The purchase of an airport aircraft rescue and firefighter suits, and the extension of runway 624.
Any questions regarding these ordinances on second reading? We'll be prepared to vote on tomorrow. Okay, I see none. No inquiries, so we can move forward.
Tabled legislation, we're not aware of anything on the table to come off at tomorrow's meeting.
All right.
And that takes us to property standards, I believe. We do have a couple.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Our first case today is 437 Boulevard Street.
Looking good.
Getting there.
Yeah.
The back of the structure, all of the walls are up, and they have actually gone up with the second story of the structure.
So I've talked to Terrence about this and the owner of it, and they've got a few projects going on right now, and there's one they're trying to finish ahead of this one, and then they're going to send their resources over to get this one wrapped up. So I'm comfortable with the progress they've made on it, and so I'd like to move to postpone it for 90 days. Is that, you comfortable with that? I think it'll be done before then, so.
I second that motion. It's been moved by Councilman Everson and seconded by the chair that we would do a 90-day postponement on 437 Boulevard. Are there any questions?
And before we vote, Terrence, are you good with 90, or do you want to go shorter?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right, you may vote. Motion. You may vote.
5 yes.
It's 5? Okay. All right, 5 yes, okay. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Our next case is 4611 Monkhouse Drive, which was a bill dispute. This is the case that was here last, I think, council before last.
Yeah, the young lady live out in New Jersey, her mother came.
Right, right. The green card, actually, the tracking number to the green card says still en route. They were not notified, so we ended up having to cancel the bill. We have no proof that they were notified.
So what are you suggesting?
Cancel the bill.
Cancel the bill. I so moved that we cancel the bill. Second, moved by the chair, seconded by Councilman Bowman, that we cancel the bill. Any discussion? We vote. Motion passes 5-0. Can't see that far. 5-0, thank you. Thank you very much, okay. All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, sir. Are there any other cases?
No, sir.
Thank you very much for your service. Okay, are there any reports from any officers, boards, or committees? Let me remind the council members that immediately following this meeting, we will have a special session on a budget session regarding MPC. We'll be meeting in the city council conference room behind the chambers. It shouldn't take very long, so I'm asking the council members to stay over. Mr. Sweeney is here. And
How you know it's not gonna take very long?
because it get dark too early. My wife told me to be home for dark.
Jared, I think it starts at 4:30.
4:30? Oh, well, we close. So we may have something else. Chief says 5:30. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe that'll help. So we don't have to sit around and just make up some time. Okay, we'll see if we can get finished real quick. Additional, Mr. Clerk, your report has been given,
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
but you have any additional?
I'm happy you recognize that.
But I thought of something that you may want to report to the council members.
Am I forgetting something?
No?
Okay.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe we could announce why Jackie White is not here today.
Yes, Jackie's aunt, her favorite aunt, and her aunt that she lived with for a while when she moved to Shreveport, passed away. They had the funeral today at 11 o'clock, and so she's with her family at this time.
Thank you.
The chairman represented the council at the funeral,
And she was happy to part, and I was able to come. And let's keep her in our prayers. It was her favorite aunt, her mother's sister, and she was very, very confident the fact that she saw us there and came over and expressed that to us. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Do we have any additional communications from the mayor?
No, thank you, sir.
Any additional communications from council members?
No, I want to ask about, trying to propose a, public safety meeting, hopefully for the 21st, right, 21st,
21st.
1:30.
Okay. Any other council members have anything that they want to communicate to the county, to the body? All right. Are there any other business that need to come before this body today? If not, this meeting is adjourned, and I would like for the council members to meet me in the conference room for our presentation from MPC.